Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're back with another NFL playoff post-game analysis video, and we got something juicy to talk about today. What just happened to the Dallas Cowboys? Everything we saw for the regular season, they were at their home stadium. They were playing the 7th seed. They were the 2-seeders. They won the NFC East. What happened in this game today? Now, I think there's a lot of overreactions right now, but what I want to do is break down this game to the best of my ability. We got to get to the bottom of this. What did Jordan Love do? How did he come out here? And I think a lot of people, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or you're an NFL fan in general, those outside of the Green Bay Packers realm, they may not have caught on to Jordan Love. But we got so much to talk about today, and we're going to get to the bottom of it all. Now, the Packers go on the road and defeat the Cowboys 48-32. Jordan Love, 16 of 21, 272 yards and 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones on the ground, 21 carries, 118 yards and 3 touchdowns. Also, should I add, Aaron Jones has rushed for over 100 yards in his past 4 games. Aaron Jones has the most yards per game versus the Dallas Cowboys. That's an awkward stat. They had Walter Payton and Barry Sanders up there when he plays the Dallas Cowboys. Also, Aaron Jones, he's a guy from that Texas area. When he plays against this team, he has something to prove, and he proved something today. Romeo Doubs, we saw some big-time receivers for the Green Bay Packers. 6 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown added in there. Going to the flip side. Now, when we talk about the Dallas Cowboys stats, I want to preface this by saying, you see 48-32, the game was not that close. It was a lot of empty calorie stats, and we're going to talk about why did that actually happen down there in the second half. But Dak Prescott, 41 of 60 passing attempts, 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, one of those being a pick 6. Now, CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup both went over 100 yards. Jake Ferguson notched 93 yards, but I finally want to get into this game so we could actually talk about what happened. This was a very big-time game, and I think a lot of people got to see what the Green Bay Packers actually are. Now, as we headed into this game, there was one key thing I talked about, and I kept repeating it and emphasizing it. Everything the Green Bay Packers do well, the Dallas Cowboys struggle with. That's exactly what we saw in this football game, and that's how I've been trying to really preview this matchup when we looked at it. Jordan Love, if you're going to blitz him, if you're going to play man coverage, he has answers. He has Jaden Reed. He has Dontavian Wicks. He has Romeo Doubs. He has answers. And we look at those 2 tight end sets. They ran a lot of 12 personnel getting into the running game. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys, when you have those leaks in the run defense, you have those safeties, and this has been exacerbated because, yes, no Jabril Cox, no Leighton Vander Esch. They're playing with Marquise Bell. They're playing with Jerron Kearse. They're playing with Damone Clark. You're looking at linebackers who aren't truthfully physical front 7 type linebackers. And, of course, it helps in the pass coverage, but when we're on first down, when we're going against those jumbo packages from the offense, you're going to struggle in that department. And Aaron Jones running like a madman. Emmanuel Wilson, he stepped in for A.J. Dillon, who was not playing. He ran like a madman as well. Now, I want to get through the timeline a little bit before I get into my biggest takeaways, because I think starting off early on, it's worthwhile talking about how do we actually get to such a game that was unreachable for the Dallas Cowboys. So starting off, before the Green Bay Packers went up, made it 7-0, this was a drive which was highlighted by big-time runs by Aaron Jones. Like I said, if you can run the football like that, the play action is going to be effortless. Jordan Love took 0 sacks on the day. We think about Osa Odighizuwa. We think about Micah Parsons. We think about DeMarcus Lawrence. All of those guys, but Jordan Love only took 2. He took 0 sacks on the day, excuse me. So that's accredited to what you did in the running game. That's a credit to what Matt LaFleur did. They're going to run misdirection. They're going to run motions, jet sweeps, all of those different types of things, and then they can get physical downhill and come at you with a guy like Aaron Jones. So they go up 7-0. Also, adding to this fact, the Dallas Cowboys really struggled on offense. We're going to get into that as well. But I think when we look at this timeline, there's a lot of punts in there. And then we're going to add the pick 6 in there. Dak Prescott throws the interception to Jair Alexander. And I think we're going to talk about how Dak Prescott struggled in this game. And I think he didn't have a good game. But to put this on Dak Prescott, I'm not going to let us do that in this video. I'm not going to let us scapegoat some of these guys. I think even with Mike McCarthy, a lot of people want Mike McCarthy out of the door, and I think it's a scapegoat situation. I'm looking at the defense, and I love Dan Quinn. He's had an exceptional defense for these past 2 years, but in this game, you had no answers against the run and against the pass. So Dak Prescott throws the interception to Jair, and that was just a great play on the ball. Brandon Cooks, I think, there may have been a miscommunication on the route because it looked like it was one of those inside zig routes. And then you got Jair, he breaks on the ball. He has a straight beeline to the ball. Brandon Cook's trying to run to the ball, but Dak Prescott puts it a little bit out in front of him. So I think on the route, there was a miscommunication. So I'm looking at that pick for Dak Prescott. Now, on that second one, we're going to get to the pick 6 by Darnell Savage. I think that one was truthfully 100% on Dak. But after that, now you put points on the board for the Green Bay Packers. When your defense is already struggling the way they were struggling, Dak Prescott throws the interception. Jordan Love, they go right back down. Aaron Jones, he has 2 touchdowns to start the game. The Green Bay Packers go up 14-0. After that, another Dallas Cowboys punt. The Packers get a big-time drive on a play highlighted by a catch by Romeo Doubs. I think this was the touchdown. Yeah, this was the touchdown by Dontavian Wicks. And on that play there, I think this is what we saw yesterday. In the game with the Houston Texans, all you have to do is sometimes when we have twin sets, we have a 2x2 set, if we're going to have 2 receivers on one side, understanding what the safety and Stephon Gilmore are going to do, now we're going to run motion, get Dontavian Wicks, who was the inside guy. Now we're getting him matched up on Stephon Gilmore. All we're doing is motion our outside guy in. And then also when you're running that post route like that on a double move, it's going to be a very easy inside access because of the way Stephon Gilmore was aligned. He was preparing to cover the number 1 receiver. Then when you motion, now things get a little bit tricky. You don't want to really give a tell defensively for what the coverage is by your alignment. So I think that was a good play design by Matt LaFleur. Dontavian Wicks, exceptional route. Also, Romeo Doubs, he had another special route on Stephon Gilmore in man coverage. These receivers, they're getting better by the day. And even with Jordan Love, we've already talked about Jordan Love. We've already done the film breakdowns on Jordan Love. But Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Malik Heath, all of these different types of guys, Bo Melton, I think they're challenging each other. These are guys who are around the age of 22 to 23 combined. And when you have that group of young guys working in unison, now we're growing together. We're learning together. We're going to struggle together, but we're also going to eat and shine together. That's what we're seeing with this receiving core for the Green Bay Packers. They can mix these guys in and out. And then you also look at the running game. Of course, it was no A.J. Dillon, but if you have him there with Wilson, with Aaron Jones, these guys can swap in and out, and they have a lot of different personnel sets. You look at the twin tight end 12 personnel set. They have freaks at tight end. Tucker Kraft, he's a freak at tight end. Luke Musgrave, he's a freak at tight end. So I'm talking about all of the different things personnel-wise, Matt LaFleur-wise, Jordan Love-wise. They have it going for them. And I saw this. You have to really look at the Green Bay Packers. This isn't a team that a lot of people talk about. We look at Matt LaFleur. We look at everything they've done thus far. You're not really putting all of your eyes. You're looking at, okay, San Francisco, Dallas, Philadelphia. That's who the hot topics are. You could talk about those teams. But when I did that film breakdown and I saw that primetime game versus Minnesota and I saw that primetime game versus the Kansas City Chiefs, I saw something. And the film will never lie to you. I'm telling you, you can look at the numbers. Jordan Love's numbers are exceptional, but the film will never lie to you. Also, getting out of that. So right now, at the timeline, we're sitting at 20-0. Dak Prescott throws the pick 6 to Darnell Savage. And like I said, on that pick 6, now what I think Dan Quinn tried to do, all week I've been talking about you don't want to blitz Jordan Love. You don't want to play man against him. And of course, with the corners the Dallas Cowboys have, you got Bland. You got Jordan Lewis. You got some of those guys at linebacker who can man up with a tight end, a great matchup. You got Stephon Gilmore on the other side, far side. I thought that what he tried to do was show man and then get into a zone look. We saw a zone heavy early, but when you get into Dak Prescott for the flip side, we think about Green Bay, a team who shows you some different looks. And when Dak Prescott threw that pick 6, I thought that was Joe Barry stepping into one of his bags, stepping into probably one of his best defensively called games of the season, because I'm paying attention to that really on that play call. Okay, we're looking at it. We got CeeDee. He throws the football to CeeDee, and I think it was a predetermined read. Looked like he was going CeeDee the whole way, but on that play now, it looks like man coverage. It looks like Darnell Savage, It looks like he has the number 2 receiver coming inside, and then he passes it off to Devondre Campbell. Those are those types of match principles. Those are those types of zone principles. We have to understand it can look like man, but it could be zone and we can pass that thing right off. Dak Prescott got caught right there, and Joe Barry with the deceptive coverage, big time calls. And we've been talking about Joe Barry. How do we feel about this game with Joe Barry? Is this a game where you feel that Joe Barry's excellence in this game causes him to be more revered, even in a situation where we know some things about Joe Barry. And if he plays a game where he's not having a big time lead, where he's not having the takeaways, the defense may struggle due to his play calling at times. But today I have nothing to say about Joe Barry. Good game. So after that, you're looking at a game where it's 27-0. And then the end of the first half, the Dallas Cowboys, they go down and score. Jake Ferguson gets the big-time touchdown. This is also where you had the third down, and then it got called to a first down because Quay Walker had the horse collar play. Didn't have too much from Quay Walker today. We know what Quay Walker is. Sometimes he just gets some penalties, which you can do without. But today had the horse collar penalty, not too much though. And then I think also looking at that, now you come out of halftime, you're feeling a little bit better about the game. The Dallas Cowboys, they drive down the football field, but they settle for 3. Those are those types of situations where we get in first and goal. Now, it's a screen pass and it goes rogue. It's a penalty and it goes rogue. These are the types of things where in the red zone, you have to capitalize on those plays. And I think even for the Dallas Cowboys, they didn't play terrible in the red zone. But I think in some of those key moments, if you come out of halftime, make it a 27 to possibly a 27-14 game rather than a 27-10 game, I think that's a situation where you have a little more momentum. Then you look at that, okay, we come out of halftime if we're Dallas, we get the field goal, and then we let our defense, Jordan Love and his offense, they go right back and score. Aaron Jones gets another touchdown to make it 3 on the day. This is where he had the big-time completion of Romeo Doubs, and I'm paying attention to these little things because all of the moment. Now, if you watch the game closely, it looked like the Dallas Cowboys had something cooking a little bit. Even where you knew kind of the Green Bay Packers offense was hitting on all cylinders, I felt that with the Dallas Cowboys, the way they started to look at the end of that first half, going into early in the second half, I said, okay, they can make it a football game. You took a lot of time off of the clock with the first drive in the third quarter. Then look what you have. Jordan Love comes right back down and scores. So these are the types of things where I say, okay, that was really for me where I think the game got out of hand. We're looking at the game, of course, it's 48-32, but those are the little types of things where you say, Green Bay Packers, they ran the football. They dictated what the Dallas Cowboys did. The Dallas Cowboys had no answers because you can't stop the run, so they can run play action as much as they want to. You can't stop the pass, so you got to run 2 high safety sets and give your corners help. So now this lets Aaron Jones do what he wants to do. And then I think when you go over to it, you look defensively, Dak Prescott. Early on in this game, he struggled to get connections with CeeDee Lamb. And I said, okay, this is something I have to watch for. Even on the very first drive of the game, threw it out a little bit in front of CeeDee Lamb. And then they were talking to CeeDee Lamb on the sideline like, okay, what are we doing right there? How do we get to that misconnection? How do we get to the point where that's something that's money? We know at CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, that's a connection that always works. But today, it looked a little bit differently early. And I think in the second half where the game was a little bit behind them, they started to connect a little bit. They started to get in the rhythm, but of course, a little too late. So how do we say in this game where Tony Pollard only has 15 carries for 56 yards, how do we feel about this? Because for the Dallas Cowboys, like I said, there's going to be a lot of overreactions. And I look at the defense for this game. I think the defense, they gave up everything. They could not stop anything that Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love brought to them. But offensively, you say, okay, we got in these laws, and we knew that our defense was struggling, and we couldn't put points on the board to combat that. What is going to be the answer moving forward to try to fix something like that? Now, of course, the easy fix seems like, okay, get Mike McCarthy out of there. Dak Prescott, is he the guy? Are we still going to restructure his contract? Even though he was a second-team All-Pro, even though he was an MVP candidate, I'm not taking that all away just based off this game. But I think I have to have an honest conversation with myself as I look at Dak Prescott in the mirror and say, in the biggest moment against this defense in the first half, you struggled. And of course, we want to give credit to Joe Barry. The coverage was exceptional in this game. Lucas Van Ness, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, those guys, they tried to get after Dak Prescott, but he only took 4 sacks on the day. And a lot of those sacks, it wasn't instant pressure. It was him trying to extend the play and get outside of the pocket and make plays down the football field. There was not immense pressure on the line of scrimmage for Dak Prescott to not be able to make his read. But you're looking at Nixon. You're looking at Jair Alexander before he got hurt. Ballantine came in. Those are the types of mixes and matches where you say, okay, we have no answers. Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, even though Jake Ferguson had a great game, those guys could not consistently get open. And do we also credit that to Mike McCarthy, is the play caller? Do we credit that to Dak Prescott, is the guy who's pulling those triggers and throwing the football? So many things coming out of this one. But I say for Green Bay, you're playing with house money right now. You're going into the San Francisco 49ers stadium. They're coming off of a bye week. You're playing your best football right now. That's something you want to lean on. And of course, San Francisco is a nasty team. Offensively, defensively. I think some of the narrative has slowed down with San Francisco just because we haven't seen them. And of course, we have recency bias. It's just human nature. We're always going to say, okay, we just saw this. This is what it means. But like I said, when I look at this game like this, right now as I see it, I think the Green Bay Packers, they're going in there. You're probably looking at maybe 5 to 7 point underdogs, but you look at what you have offensively. If the defense can play like it did in the first half again, be opportunistic, take the football away, a lot of things you can lean on. I think going over for the Dallas Cowboys, you just have a lot of questions right now as you sit here. You have a talented roster. I think one of the top 3 to 4 most talented rosters in the NFL, but you haven't been winning at the highest level when it comes to playoff football. Dak Prescott, got to look in the mirror on this one. When we say everything Dak Prescott has been and that he's brought to this team, and I think some criticism, some fair, some unfair, but in this game, in the biggest moment against a team who you had a big time 7-point favorites, you're looking at all of those things and you lose a football game like that. It's not going to be easy as you get into the offseason process. There's going to be a lot of questions. Is Mike McCarthy going to stay? That's something we have to ask. But my biggest takeaway is you can't keep doing what the formula is right now. And I don't know who in that formula is not going to be the guy, but Dak Prescott. In the biggest moments, he struggled. That's what we have to say. And I think even for some of those regular season games, he's played big in some of them. But in the playoff game last year, in the playoff game this year, Dak Prescott has struggled for one reason or another. That's the face truth. And then also looking at it, you can't run the football. Get back to that identity of what the Dallas Cowboys truthfully are, what they really are. That's not a team that I recognize right now. And even with Dak playing at the level that he is right now, they trust him a little more, but I think you can be better than that. Mike McCarthy, I don't know what the future holds for you, but looking at this game, I just think that with the talent you have, you didn't capitalize in back-to-back years. But overall, just wrapping it up before we get out of here, Jordan Love is the real deal. I've been trying to tell people that for the longest, and I think now we finally see what he can do. We finally see the anticipation. We finally see the sidearm, off-platform, different angles, types of throws. We see the different things that he's showing us, looking reminiscent of another guy. Number 12 that recently played for the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, calling the best game ever. Doing what he did. They only punted on 2 drives in this football game. This was a game where the Green Bay Packers showed you they're offensive monsters and the defense came along to play. I knew the offense would come to play, but the defense doing what they did. Shout out Joe Barry, even though he's been a controversial topic, is the defensive coordinator. Jordan Love, keep doing your thing. I like what you're doing at quarterback. I think, of course, you're playing in that top 10 to 15 range. There may even be some talks where you're a little bit higher than that. But I know this is a guy who has all the tools. If you want to go watch my film breakdown, I'll have that down below. You can go check that out. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love are preparing to terrorize NFL defenses. They terrorized the Dallas Cowboys, who I think is a very, very good defense, and it's all accredited to Jordan Love, Aaron Jones, and Matt LaFleur. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I got to get out of here. I'm about to watch the Detroit Lions and the LA Rams game. Hopefully, we can come back after that one, even tonight. Hopefully, you stay up. We'll have some post-game analysis for that one. That's going to do it for today. And now, we out.